All right. Welcome, family. My name is Ashley Hawaiian. For those of you that don't know me, I am a one-star double platinum. Today we are going to be talking about overcoming the valleys. Okay. This is when life is lifing, right? We have those times in life where we're like, ugh, life is just lifing real hard right now, right? You're going through some stuff, you are struggling, whatever it may be. And in those times, what I have seen happen a lot is people will put their business on the back burner, right? They're like, there's just too much going on in life, and I just can't focus on my business right now, right? And I've seen that, I've heard that time and time again. And so today we are going to talk about how you can overcome those valleys, as I like to call them. How you can overcome those valleys and how you can still show up for your business. Okay. Because what I don't want is for you to let your business go or, put it on the back burner or anything like that when life is lifing, because let's be honest, life is always going to life, right? There's always going to be something that comes up. So if we don't learn how to navigate those valleys, then we're never going to hit our goals. We're never going to be in a place where we can succeed in business, because if it's not one thing going on, it's another, right? As soon as you get through this valley and you start to climb out of it, now here comes another valley, right? So we have to learn how to navigate those and how to still work and show up for our business through those valleys so that we can stay on track. Okay? So that we can still hit our goals, we can still be successful. Okay? So, let me well, I would share my screen if it gave me the option. There we go. There it is. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. All right. Let me get this out of the way right here. There we go. All right. So again, it is called Overcoming the Valleys. Okay. Now, if you were at the Midwest Boot Camp, I did this training at the Midwest Boot Camp. Okay. But when we started talking about doing this little Rising Tide boot camp, I had actually volunteered to do a different training, and Krista had approached me and said, actually, I would really love it if you would do your Overcoming the Valleys training again. If you could do it for those that were not at boot camp, right, at the Midwest boot camp. So I said, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. Now, one thing that I hear from people all the time, and I don't know if it pisses you guys off as much as it pisses me off, but it pisses me off to hear this statement. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Does it piss anybody else off like it does me? Right? Anybody make anybody else mad? Yeah, I see some yes. Now I want you to give me a one in the chat box if you have no kids or your kids are grown and out of the house. Give me a one in the chat box. Okay, I see a lot of ones. Perfect. All right. Now, for those of you that have kids at home, even small kids, doesn't matter, teenage, small, doesn't matter. You have kids living at home. Do those people's 24 hours look the same as our 24 hours? Right? When their kids are out of the house and all of that? Heck no. Right? Not the same 24 hours at all. All right, now give me a two in the chat box. Let me find where my little guy went. There it is. If you are a parent of only one child, you just have one kid at home, just a one, you don't have multiple kids, you don't have a whole football team at home, right? You just got one kid. Now, for those of us that have more than one kid at home, do their 24 hours look the same as our 24 hours? Nah, because I can tell you right now, chasing two kids around be wild. All right. Like you get one under control, the other one's climbing on the roof or something crazy, right? Like It's a whole different ball game when you got more than one of them, right? And no, thank you. I'm not gonna try four. I got two, and that's plenty for me. Like, no, thank you. Hard pass on that. All right, give me a three in the chat box if you are married and have kids. Okay, it doesn't matter how many kids you have. If you are married and you have children, give me a three in the chat box. Okay, I see a lot of threes coming in. Where are my single parents at? Do their 24 hours look the same as our 24 hours? Because they don't. I can tell you right now, I've been married with kids and I've been single parenting with kids. It ain't the same, right? You have no help. It's all you on your own, right? It's not the same 24 hours. Now, what about those of you that work this business full time? Give me a four in the chat box. That's me. If you work this full time, you have no other job, right? I see all the fours coming in. Yes. All right. For those of you that you have another job and you do this in conjunction with that job, do our 24 hours look the same as your 24 hours? They don't, right? You got to go to work. You got to work 8 hours. Then you got to come home and work your business, right? Or on the weekends, you're working your business, whatever it may be. It looks different, right? Now, I bring this up because I have heard this statement from leaders before. And if you're a leader and you've said this statement, I want you to stop it right now. Okay. I want you to stop saying this statement. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. They're not the same. The only correct statement is we all have 24 hours in a day. Okay. Take out the same because they're not the same, right? We have different lives. We have different circumstances. We have different things that contribute to making our 24 hours different from someone else's. And if you're a leader and you're telling your junior partners that we all have the same 24 hours, I need you to stop because all you're doing is discrediting how they're feeling and what they're going through, right? You're making them feel unseen and unheard. And that is not okay, right? We need our junior partners to know that we see them, that we hear them, that we can validate what they are going through. Now, we're not going to use life as lifing and the fact that you're a single parent or the fact that you have another job or the fact that you have kids at home. We're not going to use those as an excuse either. Okay? So that's not what we're here for today. We're not here to say, "Oh, I'm a single parent, so I have an excuse to not work my business." That's not what we're here for. Okay? We're going to talk about how to recognize your differences, your contributing factors in life, and how to overcome those and work with those. Okay? That's what we're going to do. We're not going to use excuses. Okay? Now, let me move this out of the way more. Now, some of the valleys that we can go through, and these are just some examples. Okay? It could be death of a loved one. I know when Christina Bertels was in the business for just a few months, her father actually passed, right? That was a huge valley for her. However, she still showed up. She still hit gold not long after he passed because she knew that that lifing moment was temporary, right? She still showed up for her business. It could be that you're going through a divorce or a separation of some kind, right? You have crazy schedules or you use the excuse, "I don't have time." Maybe you have kids that are in sports or they're in some kind of activity that takes up a lot of your time, right? And you have that excuse of, "Well, I just don't have the time. My schedule is way too crazy." Maybe you have a full-time job or maybe you lost your job, right? And you're using that valley to justify not working your business. Maybe you have health issues. Maybe you're sick a lot. I know Gigi Ivy on my team has a lot of health issues, right? She's got autoimmune disorders. If she goes outside in the winter when it's, freezing cold outside, she is 99% sure going to catch pneumonia, right? That is a valley. However, we can't use that as an excuse to not work our business. Okay. Single parenting. There are tons of people who are single parenting and being successful in this. Look at Coach Val, right? Coach Val is a single mom, has been a single mom her son's entire life. But look at how successful she is, right? You have kids at home. You have mental health struggles, which I'm not discrediting mental health struggles, y'all, because those are difficult. It's difficult to navigate that valley. I understand. I've been a therapist. I get it. But we have to find a way to navigate that. Okay? We have to find a way to not allow that to deter us from hitting our goals. Moving. I moved just a couple of months ago. Did I quit working my business? No, I did not. I worked my business in that, right? In the middle of moving. I had to pack up a whole house of 3 people by myself, minus my friend came in from California and helped pack a few boxes, not very many, but she did help pack a few. But other than that, I did it by myself, right? I packed up the whole house for all 3 of us, made multiple trips to storage to put stuff in it, right? Moved everything. I did all of that just a few months ago, and I didn't ever stop working my business. Okay. The holidays. We're coming into holiday season right now. Do y'all know that November and December are the holiday season, right? Do you understand that there are only actually 4 days that are holidays? Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve. That's it. New Year's Day starts next year, so we're not even counting that one. 4 days in a 2 month period that are holidays. Just 4 out of 60. Do you know how many times I hear people say, "Oh, it's the holidays, like I'm so busy, I can't work. I'm not moving right now because it's just so busy." There's only 4 days, y'all. Quit using the holidays to not work for 2 months straight. Okay? Traveling. And if you have family in town, which is very common right now, right? Around the holidays, it's very common to have family in town. Do you know that if I have family in town, I'm still working my business. I just tell them, "Hey, I can sit here and I can talk to you and while I work, or I can give you my undivided attention for, an hour, 2 hours, but then I got to do some stuff, right? I got to go work. You can hang out, or if you're ready to go, whatever, right?" But I don't quit working just because of those things, because I have goals that I'm trying to hit, right? All right. Mountaintops are for views and inspiration, but fruit is grown in the valleys. This was a quote by Billy Graham. Mountaintops are for views and inspiration, but fruit is grown in the valleys. Y'all, I've never been to a mountaintop. I drove up one time, but I've never climbed up one. But I never saw any fruit at the top of that mountain. I can tell you that much right now, right? It's too cold. The weather is not ideal for growing fruit, right? At the top of the mountain. It's grown in the valley. That's where the hard work is done, right? That is where we have to sow and reap and plant and do all of those things, is in the valley. We have to do those things in order to even get to the top. Okay? No, I don't want to go to a top of a mountain. No, thank you. Hard pass. I love you. I love you, but I will not be going to the top of a mountain. But it's in the valleys that we have to grow that. that we have to plant, that we have to reap, that we have to sow, that we have to do all of those things in order to grow the fruit, right? Getting to the mountaintop, that's just so that we can see the amazing view that's there and gain inspiration to climb the next mountain, right? It's a view like no other. But that's all the top of the mountain is for. It's not for learning, it's not for growing, it is for reflection. Okay? All of the learning and the growing and all of that happens in the valley. In the valley. Okay? Now, a little bit about me for those of you that do not know. Before becoming a travel agent, I was a therapist. You can see on there, I have over 13 years in recovery. Actually, next month, the end of next month, will be my 14 years, my 14-year anniversary of being in recovery. And I became a therapist to help others struggling with addiction, right? I wanted to be able to help them get sober, stay sober, teach them how I, got sober and stayed sober, and I wanted to be able to help them. So I became a therapist. I was a therapist for about 7 years. I have two boys. I like to call them my feral bobcats. For those of you that have never heard me say that, Bryson is almost 9. Cooper just turned 5. And Bryson is autistic. My oldest one is autistic. We got him diagnosed at the age of just over 4, I think it was. He was like 2 months past being 4 when we got that diagnosis, and had to really change a lot in our house, right? I am a 1-star double platinum. I am also a 4-time IATAN card holder, 100K ring earner. I am a homeschool mom, which I know some of you are like, girl, you're crazy. You're nuts. Send them kids to school, get them out of there. But with my oldest son being autistic, I know that he is not going to fit inside anyone else's version of a box of what they believe he should be. And going to a public school is not going to fit for him, right? It would be easier on me, yes, because I would have 8 hours of them being gone 5 days a week, right? I could get a whole lot of stuff done. But I know that my son would really struggle with having to sit at his desk all day, having to go 5 days a week for that long, right? It would be very, very overwhelming for him. And he would not be able to handle that very well. He would not thrive in that type of environment. So I decided to do a homeschool hybrid. They go to school on Monday and Wednesday. And then the school gives us stuff to do at home, and we homeschool Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So it's a hybrid. We work together. It gives us a lot of flexibility. His school is absolutely amazing and accommodating, and he gets to be himself. He gets to take the classes that he wants to take. And so it has really been the best of both worlds for us. And as of December of last year, I am a recent single mom. My ex-husband and I, after 10 years of marriage, decided that it was not working anymore. We decided that we were going to go our separate ways. We had separated for a little bit back in 2024, like the first part of 2024. Tried to come back together to make it work. It just wasn't. We decided in December that we had to just go ahead and separate, move, and get divorced. So we have been going through that, still waiting on that to be finalized, which should be any day now. But that was a massive life change, right? In December, when that happened, I can tell you that number one, I went into a very dark depression. It was something that I had never thought would happen in my life. In fact, when was dating him and we were talking about marriage, I told him divorce is not an option. So if we're going to do this, it's for the long haul. So if something comes up, we better figure it out. We better work together to work it out. Because it's not an option for me. And that is fully what I believed, going into that marriage. And it became where I was fighting by myself, fighting for the marriage by myself, and I just couldn't do it anymore, right? And it was very, very draining. But in December, I went into a very dark depression. Being in recovery, I also really struggled with wanting to drink. It was, I wanted to escape, right? I was crying a lot. I was hurting. I knew my kids were hurting. And I went into this very, very dark place. And I wanted to drink on a daily basis. So not only was I fighting the grief and the anger and the hurt from getting divorced, I was also fighting the demons within my head that told me that I could drink and escape these feelings, that it would be okay, that one time wouldn't hurt anything, right? And so I was fighting a battle within a battle. And I can tell you that in that time, it was this family, my Evo family, that really pulled me through that. From December until June, when I sold my house and moved out of there, it was literally this Evo family that kept me sober, and that kept me afloat, kept me from just absolutely losing my ever loving mind. There would be times that I would call Christina or Coco or Krista or Amy or Tommy or Val. I would call them and just be in full blown meltdown, breakdown moment, right? Wanting to drink, wanting to throw in the towel, wanting to quit, wanting to do all these things because I was hurting so bad. And had I not had this Evo family that was like, hey, we're here. What do you need? How can we help? Right. And if I didn't have them there to validate what I was going through, but also encourage me to stay sober, encourage me to continue doing what I was doing, I wouldn't be here right now. Right? I wouldn't be doing this training for you guys. I wouldn't have been doing this training at boot camp. I would have been down a very, very dark path of who knows where, because I would have picked up and drank, or I would have picked up a drug, just to escape, right? Just to do that. And it was this family that pulled me out of that. It was this family that was there saying, like, hey, we got your back. You're not in this alone, right? They got in the valley with me. I always, Christina and I, for a long time now, have called each other mud buddies, right? Because we always talk about we're in the trenches together, right? That's our nickname for each other, is mud buddies, because I know if I'm in the trenches, I'm not there alone, right? She's there with me. If she's in the trenches, she knows I'm there with her. We're in the mud, we're crawling through the mud together, never have to be alone. And that's something that is very, very important to have, right? It's important to have those people that will get down in the valleys with you, that will walk with you through those really hard moments, and not just leave you to yourself, right? They'll call and check on you. They'll be like Gigi and show up on your doorstep, right? And take you out and go have fun and do all of those things, right? So from December to June was very dark times, and it was a struggle for me to work my business while going through all of the things that I was going through, right? While battling the battle within the battle, the demons within my head, while fighting all of that and still trying to show up for my business. It was incredibly difficult to do. And in fact, at one point, Val and I had FaceTimed two different times in one week. And on the second time, she was like, hey, by the way, are you trying to save on your light bill? And I was like, what? And she goes, both times I've talked to you this week, the lights have been out in your house. Are you trying to save on your electricity bill? And I was like, no. And she goes, well, then I need you to turn some mother effing lights on, because that's a sign of depression. And that's what we're not going to do, is sit in the dark. Right. And I was like, okay, then. So I had to go turn the lights on while I finished my conversation with her. Right. And then she texted me once we got off the phone. She texted me and she said, by the way, your crown has just been adjusted. Remember who the F you are, right? It's people like that. It's people that are going to be there. They're going to notice those things, right? That is absolutely Val. um, they're gonna notice those things. They're gonna notice when your energy is off. They're gonna notice when you're not quite yourself, right? They're gonna notice the little things like that because they know you and because it's out of character for you, right? And those people that are walking through that valley with you, it's important to make sure that you have good people who notice those things, right? Um, yeah, or looking you straight in the eye and saying, "Let's go for a walk." Krista's been in that position. But it's those people, right, that you need when you're going through those valleys. Those people that are going to notice those things and they're going to say, "Listen, let me adjust your crown and remember who you are because we still got to show up. We still got things to do." Right? I went through a program. His name is Josh Coates. He is a life coach. I went through a program. Christina did the same program. And I had a one on one with him back in December. It was our last one on one before our program ended. And in that one on one, I told him everything that was going on, right? I told him about getting divorced. I told him all of that. And he said something very, very profound to me in that moment. And it was this: in hard times, it's okay if you don't bring your A game to your business. Just make sure you don't bring your D or F game. And y'all, for someone like me who's very competitive, who's very goal driven, and like I need to always bring my A game, like that's my mentality. For him to say this gave me permission to bring a B or C game on the days when I was really struggling, right? On those days when the battle against the demons in my head was really, really hard, right? On those days, it gave me permission to take care of myself, to make sure that I was first and foremost sober and okay, and then to work my business. And maybe on those days, I only brought my B or C game to my business. But the important thing is that I still showed up for my business, right? In those hard times, when we're walking through those valleys, sometimes we have to show up different. We can't always show up in the beast mode, A game type of way. That's okay. I'll use Amy as an example. Amy had a neck surgery recently, right? And her A game is presenting every Tuesday, doing learn and earn every Monday, doing the founders call, doing team calls, right? All of that. But when she had that surgery, she couldn't talk for very long periods of time, or it really strained her vocal cords and it really hurt her, right? So in that time, for about 6 or 8 weeks, she had to cancel Learn and Earn, and I took over presenting on Tuesdays for her, right? Because she couldn't speak for that long. Now, she still did the founders call when it was time. She also jumped on a call that our team was having from her hospital bed with her neck brace on, y'all, doped up on her pain meds, right? But she still showed up and she still brought some mom talk that only Amy can bring and really inspired the team to do what they needed to do, right? She had to show up differently. She couldn't bring her A game to every aspect of business, but she still showed up. She still brought her A game where she could, right? And she brought the B or C game where she had to. But the most important thing is that she was still showing up every single day, even when it was just her B or C game for that day, right? That is okay as long as we still show up. Because bringing the B or C game, guys, is going to be temporary. It's not long term. Lifing is going to be temporary, right? So if we have to bring the B or C game for a month or two, or maybe even, mine was about 4 or 5 months, of really going through all that stuff, if we have to bring the B or C game most days in that time period, that's okay because you know what? As soon as it ends, I can ramp it back up and I can be bringing my A game again, right? I can be really plugging in, going the extra mile. Maybe I'm bringing the A plus plus game, right? I'm doing even more than what my A game normally is. Okay. So I want you guys to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, but not using that as an excuse to not show up, right? We still need to show up, but you do have to take care of yourself first and foremost. You guys may have noticed that from December to when Amy had her surgery, which I think was in June, or maybe May, in that time period, I wasn't a regular on presenting anymore. I had been up until that time. But in December, when I started going through the divorce stuff, I had a conversation with Founder and I told him what was going on. And I absolutely love him. He used the analogy. He's like, you know what, Ashley? I think maybe for right now, you take a step back from presenting. You can be the fill in, right? Like if someone needs coverage and you're able to do it, you be the fill in. But right now, I want you to take a step back and I want you to take care of yourself right now because it's more important and I need you here long term, right? And he used the analogy that he sits above the trees in a helicopter, right? He can see the whole forest and we're down in the trenches, we're down in the trees. And they have the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? But he talked about he sits above all of that. He can see what's coming, he can see what needs to happen. And I can tell you right now that about a month or two into that, like in January, February ish, when I what hadn't been presenting, I text him and I was like, you were 110% right. I needed to step back and I just didn't know it because things had gotten so crazy and so just overwhelming, right? The thought of presenting and having to present every week at that time was like stressing me out. And I was like, I don't even have to present, but if I did have to, it would make it 20 times worse than what it is right now. I may not have stayed sober, right? Like I very easily could have got so overwhelmed that I picked up a drink. But it was because he saw what needed to happen. He knew that I needed time to step back and take care of myself so that once that moment was over, once that valley was over, I could be back to who I was, right? I could be back and I took care of myself that whole time. That is what we have to do. We have to take care of ourselves, but still show up. Okay. Now, here are some things that I did so that I could still show up daily. Okay. Even when life was lifing, even when I didn't, always feel like doing work, I knew that I still had to, right? I knew that I still needed to. So, some different ways, some different things that I did. Created a daily to-do list and schedule. Now, I think creating the to-do list is easier for me because I don't love a schedule. I'm not someone that's like, hey, I need to put this at 8 o'clock, this at 9 o'clock, this at 10 o'clock, right? That gives me anxiety to have something done by a certain time. I would much rather say, hey, I need to get X, Y, and Z done tomorrow. And then here's where I can fit that right throughout the day. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this now. I'll do this in an hour or whatever, right? But whatever works better for you. If you're more of the to do list, then make the list and fit it in when you can, right? In that next day. If you're more of a schedule person, do the schedule. Hey, I need to do this at 10 o'clock. I need to do this at 1 o'clock, this at 5 o'clock, right? Whichever one works better for you. You know yourself better than anybody else. Okay. Number two, lean on your support system. Like I said, without my support system, without my Evo family, y'all, I don't know where I'd be. I'd be loaded. I can tell you that. I would be drunk and out there running and gunning probably. And who knows where my children would be, right? Because if I'm out there in my addiction, I'm definitely not being the parent that I need to be, right? Your support system and the people that you surround yourself with can make or break you. Make sure that you are choosing the right support system, okay? That you have the right people around you. Plan ahead and create a plan. Y'all, instead of waking up and being like, oh, what do I feel like doing today? Right? Because in the valleys, you never feel like doing anything. Let's just be honest. Right? There were days I woke up and I'm like, oh, I just want to lay on this bed or lay on this couch and just zone out watching TV and I don't want to do anything. Right? Many days that I felt like that. But because I had created a plan the day before, I had already said, here's what I need to get done. I knew, hey, I've at least, at minimum, got to get these things done today. And if I sit and zone out the rest of the time, then so be it. Right? But I have to get these things done. And I had to hold myself accountable to that. Okay. So create that plan. What needs to be done that next day? Okay. Don't let your excuses excuse you. And I absolutely love Fred Howe for doing this training and giving us this mantra, if you will. But I could have let all the excuses excuse me from working my business, right? I could have very easily said, I have an autistic son. I have to homeschool. I'm going through a divorce. I'm battling my addiction and my demons, and I don't have time to work my business, right? And some people would be sitting there and they'd be like, Ashley, you know what? That's valid. Like, I think you're right. Like, working your business is just too much right now. But that's not the kind of people you need in your corner, right? The people in my corner were saying, hey, yeah, you're going through a lot, but let's take it one step at a time. You're going through a lot, but you're not in it alone. How can we help? What can we do? Right? I cannot tell you how many times Christina would message me and be like, hey, I'm going to include your team on X, Y, and Z, just to kind of help take some of the pressure off of you. Right? Like that type of thing because Christina's my upline, so my team falls within hers. But because I'm a platinum, right, she usually lets me, take care of my team. But she was saying, hey, I'm going to start these little sub chats and anyone who wants to build, like I'm going to pour into them a little extra for these next couple of months. I'm going to add some of your team that's in there and I'm going to help them, right? We got to get the team moving. She didn't have to do that, right? She didn't have to do that, but she did because that was her being that support system, right? That was her making sure that I was still going to be able to show up and do what I could, and she was going to be there to help as well, right? Take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup, okay? You cannot pour from an empty cup. Think about when you are on a plane and they tell you in the beginning briefing, right? In the event that we lose oxygen in the cabin, an oxygen mask will fall from the ceiling. If you are traveling with small children or your husband, put your mask on first before helping them, right? Because we all know that they're basically like a toddler. Put your mask on first. Brian, he's like, whoa, wait a minute. Put your mask on first. Why do they say that? Because if you cannot breathe because you don't have oxygen coming to you while you're trying to help somebody, you're going to pass out and then they never got helped and they're going to pass out. Right? You have to take care of you. You have to get your oxygen mask on first before you can go and help other people get their oxygen mask on. Same thing here. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are running on fumes and you are struggling and you're in the trenches and in the valley and you feel like you're just bleeding out, right? you cannot help your team. You cannot help your other agents. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Y'all, there were many times in that 5 month period or 6 month period where I had a me day. My love language is massages and pedicures and taking myself out to eat and things like that, right? There were multiple times, at least once a month, where I went and had a me day. I went and had a massage. I went and had a pedicure. I would take myself to my favorite restaurant, right? I would go do all of those things. You're my spirit animal. I love it. But I would go do all of those things because I knew that I had to show up for my team and for my agents. And if I didn't take care of myself, I wouldn't be able to show up for them, right? And going to get a massage and doing all of that stuff, that's how I took care of me. That's how I made sure that I was not pouring from an empty cup. Okay. Set clear, SMART goals. Guys, SMART goals is an acronym. It is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based. Okay. They have to be specific. You can't just say, I want to be rich. That's not specific. What does that mean? Right? They have to be measurable. I want to make $1 million. That's measurable. I can measure how far I am from making $1 million. Attainable. They have to be like realistic, right? Not I want to make $1 million by tomorrow. That's not going to happen, right? They have to be attainable. They have to be relevant to you, right? I can't sit here and say, Danielle, you should be an 8 star. If she doesn't want to be an 8 star, that's not a good goal for her, right? Like it has to be relevant to what you want for your life. And it has to be time based. You got to put a time on it. I want to be a platinum consultant by December 31st. That is a SMART goal, right? That is a goal that is achievable, has a time on it, it's relevant to what you want, right? All of those things. It's specific. You can measure how far you are from platinum, right? So you have to set those clear, SMART goals and be realistic with yourself on where you're at and where you're trying to get. Okay? Remember, the valleys are temporary, and this is probably the most important one, honestly. Because, guys, when we're in a valley, we tend to, as I like to say, catastrophize it, which is really funny because I said that one time and Craig was like, that's not even a word. And I was like, actually, it is. And then he goes, spell it. And I did. And he was like, forget you. And he walked off. He was mad. But we tend to catastrophize, right? Where we're like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. I'm going to be in this valley the rest of my life. It's going to be forever. I'm going to be here for years, right? We tend to like overdo it, right? We tend to make it bigger and scare the crap out of ourselves, quite honestly, right? But life events are always temporary. Okay, until the day you die, the life event will always be temporary. Now, whether it's temporary in a short way of like a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whether it's temporary in a little bit longer way of like 6, 8, 10 months, right? It's always going to be temporary. This is not how life is going to be for the rest of your life. Okay. It's always temporary, and we always have to remind ourselves of that when we're going through these valleys. You know what's not temporary? Our business. Our business will be here through the whole thing, right? Our business will still be here on the other side of the valley. We have to make sure we are still working our business through the valley so that we have something there on the other side. Okay? Work on your mindset. And this is another super important one. Discipline over motivation. Y'all, I say this all the time. For those of you that are not on my team or not on Christina or Amy's team, um, I say this on trainings all the time. Motivation is a feeling. It is fleeting. Okay? Feelings come and go. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes based on how you are feeling that day, based on your emotions for that day. Discipline is not fleeting. Discipline is doing the things you need to do even when you don't want to. I always use going to the gym as an example, right? I wake up in the morning and I may not want to go to the gym. I have no motivation, no get up and drive to go to the gym. However, if I get up and I go anyway, that's discipline. That is saying I'm not going to allow my emotions to pull me away from my goals. If I relied on motivation to go to the gym, I would never go. I'll just be honest, right? If I relied on motivation, I would never show up to the gym. That's why I don't rely on motivation. I rely on discipline because I know the goals that I have for myself and I know what I'm trying to achieve. And if I implement discipline, I will get those results and I will put in the work to achieve those things because I'm not relying on the motivation to do it. I'm making myself get up and go and do those things even when I don't want to. And guys, when you are going through the valleys, you need more discipline than you ever have before. And it's the hardest time to have it. So you really have to go that extra mile to truly work on discipline when you're going through those valleys. Okay. And the biggest thing is give yourself grace. Y'all, on the days where you have to bring your B or C game, give yourself grace. Allow yourself to not be perfect for a day or two. Allow yourself to, give yourself a pat on the back for doing what you did do that day. There will be some days where you get up and you may only get one or two things done in your business that day because you have a million other things going on and your mindset is crap and you're just in a bad spot, right? Maybe you only get one or two things done that day. Give yourself a pat on the back anyway, because you know what? It's better than getting nothing done. Give yourself grace to say, I may not have rocked my business today, but I still showed up for my business and I still got one or two things done. And you know what? I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for still showing up, even if I only showed up for a short period, right? Give yourself that grace because it is very, very important. And remember why you're doing this business in the first place. Y'all, I had to remind myself many times in those 6 months. Many times I had to remind myself that I am trying to build a life that is for me and my kids. I'm trying to build a life so my son doesn't have to go to a public school. I'm trying to build a life that now as a single mom, I can support me and my children without having to go back to corporate and get a corporate job and put them in public school, right? That is the last thing that I want to do is have to go get a corporate job to support my family. But because of this business and because I continued to show up even in the valley, I don't have to go do that, right? I still get to have this business, have my kids in the school that they're in, have them home on the days they're supposed to be home, still get to go do things with them and live on our schedule because I still showed up in the valley, because I remembered why I was doing this. And in the times where I didn't want to get up, I reminded myself of what I could lose if I didn't get up and do work. Okay. Now, important, what I'm not saying. because I don't want anyone to go back and be like, oh, Ashley said X, Y, and Z and gave me the ability to excuse myself from doing whatever. That's not what I said. I'm not saying it's okay to use the excuse that life is lifing. Every person on this Zoom in this world has something going on in their life that they could say, ah, life is lifing. There is not a single person on this planet, minus my kids, maybe, who they just live in their own world. But there is not a single person on this planet that could not have this excuse, right? That life is lifing. We could all have the excuse that life is lifing. I'm not giving you permission to use that excuse. Okay? I'm not saying that it's okay to put your business on the back burner. That's not what I said either. What I did say was you might have to show up differently for your business, right? That you may not be able to bring your A game every single day. You may have to bring your B or C game on some days, but that doesn't mean that other days you can't bring your A game, right? Like, we need to have every intention to bring our A game every day, but give ourselves grace knowing that if we have to bring our B or C game for a day or two, it's okay. We'll get back to the A game after this short little period of whatever we're going through, right? I'm not saying it's okay to put your business on the back burner because it's not. Okay, it's not going to grow there. That's where you're going to lose it. I'm not saying that it's okay to quit, give up, or not work your business. Y'all, if you quit or give up, you let life win. You let whatever the hard thing was beat you. You let it win. And now you either have to start over on your business or you have to go into corporate and get a corporate job or whatever, right? You have to restart on something when if you would have just shown up and worked your business, even if it was B or C game kind of day, if you would have just shown up, you could have maintained it throughout the life is lifing moment, throughout the valley. I kept reminding myself of that. I can either show up during this valley and maintain what I have. I may not be growing, but I'm maintaining what I have. I can either do that or I can disappear for 5, 6 months while life is lifing, and I can come back and have to rebuild everything I've already built. And for me, I don't want to do that. I would rather push myself through the valley and say, I'm going to show up today, even if I have to show up differently. I'm going to show up today so that I can maintain what I've already built, and then I can grow it when we get past this valley, right? When we get on the other side of this. This is a quote that I came up with this and had chat just fine tune a couple of words here and there. But this is something that I put a lot of thought into. It's in the valleys where we grind, grow, transform, and become unbreakable. Our toughness and grit are forged in those low points. Doubts and fears are conquered there. The mountaintop isn't for dwelling, it's for looking back to see how far we've come. You don't arrive at the peak without earning every step through the valleys. This was something that I was just putting it into chat and like trying to come up with something that really just spoke like how I was feeling, right? And so chat kind of rearranged some of the words a little bit, gave me some different words here and there to really kind of fine tune it, but I loved the outcome of it. You don't arrive at the peak without earning every step. Katie, I'm sure, Miss Climbing Mountains over here, can tell you that if she were to be in a helicopter and they were to take her and just set her on the top of the mountain and she were to look out and see that view, it wouldn't be as sweet. It wouldn't be as beautiful. It wouldn't be as meaningful unless she had climbed every step up that mountain, right? When you have to earn the view, it is a much more beautiful, amazing, meaningful view than if someone were to just pick you up and set you up there, right? When you have to earn it, it's different. If someone were to come up to me and be like, Ashley, right now, I will hand you 2-star platinum. No, thank you. Do I want 2-star platinum? Absolutely. But I don't want anything handed to me. I want to earn every step of that because when I hit it, it's even sweeter. I'm even more proud. I can absolutely say I earned this. It was not given to me. Right? And that's one thing our founder says all the time. It's earned, not given. That 100K ring, I earned that, mother, right? And when I wear it, I am proud to wear it because I know the sweat, blood, tears, valleys, mountains I had to climb in order to do that, right? And the view is different when you've earned every step through that valley to get to the top. I want you guys to remember before we jump off, I want you guys to remember that when you're in the valley, we are growing, we are learning, we are planting, we are reaping, and we are sowing. Right? It's in the valley where the work happens, where the growth happens. Who you are becoming and who you need to become happens in that valley. So while it's incredibly difficult to walk through those valleys, I'm not saying it's easy, it's not. While it's incredibly difficult to walk through those valleys, I want you guys to remind yourself when you're there, I am becoming who I need to be. I am growing. I am planting. I am reaping and I am sowing my success. And I am earning every step up that mountain so that when I get to the top, the view is that much sweeter. Okay. That is all I have for you guys tonight. I appreciate you guys very much. Let me stop sharing for uno momento. There we go. You guys are very welcome. I hope, oh, it was moving on me. There we go. I hope that you guys got something out of that, that it touched you in a way that helps you to be able to navigate those valleys. Remember that your Evo family is here, right? Like I said, my Evo family saved my life. Like I'm not even joking when I say that. If it was not for Christina and Coco and Tommy and Amy and Val and Krista and Gigi and the people that were there in the trenches with me, right? Those people that checked on me daily, I would not be here. And they quite literally saved my life. And it is this Evo family that continues to encourage, that continues to push you. And we are all here. So if you are going through the valleys, find your support system. Find the people who are going to walk in the trenches with you, right? The people who are going to encourage you and not let you give up. Yes, Casey, find your tribe, right? Because that tribe is going to make you or break you. All right. I thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for being here and encouraging and everything that you have done. I appreciate it more than you guys know. I hope that it helped you in some way, that you guys are ready to go out and fight through those valleys to earn every step to the top of the mountain. And I cannot wait to see each and every single one of you at the top of your mountain, whatever that mountain looks like. I will be right there with you in the trenches, climbing the mountain with you if you need anything. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And I will talk to you guys later.